Look, if you grew up playing the Super Nintendo, then there's a 1000% chance that you love Super Mario World, and that number might still be a little low. Since the game came included with the system, you almost certainly played it, and if you played it, then you definitely loved it. Even amongst the several iconic 2D Mario games, Super Mario World might be the most iconic, and it helped an entire generation of video game fans fall in love with both Mario and video games in general. Hey everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Completionist New Game Plus, the show where I am recompleting the first 120 games I ever featured here on the channel. More on that in the box down below. A few announcements before we start this episode. As you all know, I'm a part of a group of creators called Normal Boots, and we have a YouTube channel called youtube.com/normalboots or c/normalboots. And we're back after a 2-year hiatus. We're back on the content train. If you want to see me and my friends have a good time, we're creating content once again. I don't remember exactly how much videos and whatnot, but we're having a schedule. It's going to be a good time. Go check it out. I highly recommend it if you want more of me and me hanging out with people like Peanut Butter Gamer and Chadtronic. That's right, we got new members in the group now, so come on by and hang out. And hey, we're doing a celebratory live stream today over on twitch.tv/normalboots. We are back, a dinosaur's tale. I made that part up. If you want to check it out, you totally can. I don't know when the exact time is, so be sure to follow it on Twitch. Again, twitch.tv/normalboots and all that fun stuff. And hey, if none of that interests you, at the very least, I just voiced a Did You Know Gaming on Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, which is out right now. So with that said, let's get back to the topic of Super Mario World. About to do an intro? It's Super Mario World. It's Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. Did you buy a Super Nintendo when you were a kid? No. Well, I did, and because I did, it came with Super Mario World. This is the game that people would get. It was awesome. It still is awesome. And guess what? It's one of my favorite Marios of all time. So let's recomplete it again. Because that's the show, that's what I do, and that's the tea. That delicious, sweet Mario World tea. Let's begin. So I'll just say it. This is my favorite 2D Mario game, which is really saying something because they're all pretty dope. But Super Mario World is the one that not only brought Mario onto a whole new generation of console, but it's also the one that became absolutely synonymous with that console. Not only was it included as a pack-in game with the Super Nintendo, but a couple of years later, it was even included with a version of the Mario All-Stars pack, which basically just threw Super Mario World in with the first 3 titles because, yeah, of course, why the hell wouldn't you? The only change in that version was a new model for Luigi, because the game was otherwise perfect, and even Luigi deserves a little bit of attention sometimes. Super Mario World feels very much like an extension of those first NES Mario games, while also adding some dope new stuff and elevating it for the next generation. It takes advantage of being on the Super Nintendo, and was the first real demonstration of how well the character could age and grow with rapidly evolving technology throughout the years. Because Mario will always be Mario, but he's also extraordinarily flexible as a character, obviously. I mean, the guy competes in the Olympics, he's the world's greatest driver of karts, but it seems like a rule that each Nintendo console needs at least one iconic Mario platformer. In this one, Mario and Luigi do all the classic Mario stuff together, running, jumping, and collecting power-ups. But the big addition that helps set it apart mechanically is the introduction of Yoshi, who we all know is the best. I mean, come on, that guy rules. And his presence makes sense because Super Mario World is set outside the Mushroom Kingdom in a land called Dinosaur Land, because it's filled with, well, dinosaurs. But of all the dinosaurs in the land of dinosaurs, Yoshi is definitely the cutest, and he needs Mario's help rescuing his fellow dinosaurs who've been kidnapped and trapped in eggs by Bowser and his terrible children. This is all on top of your standard kidnapped princess scenario, of course. So this game introduced an instantly iconic Mario character, as those who declare it was determined to be nothing less than the most iconic game in Nintendo's most iconic franchise. And that's all on top of the great new mechanics, worlds, and music. I mean, look, I can't not gush about this game. It's Super Mario World, you guys. So much of my life has been spent playing this game that I just keep wanting to yell its name. It's Super goddamn Mario World, leave me alone! We all know what it's called. You know, I do sometimes feel like I'm running out of ways to say how much I love Mario. so I just end up yelling his name a lot and talking about how great it is when he does Mario stuff. And you know what? I stand by all of it. I love it when he plays sports or tries to teach me things, but Mario is absolutely at his most Mario when he's doing Mario things, like, you know, jumping on enemies and running from left to right. And by those criteria, Super Mario World might be the most Mario game ever made, at least for a certain generation of fans. Because sure, you could make an argument for the original or for something like Super Mario 64, which conditioned the character into the third dimension, but it's Super Mario World that sits perfectly at the intersection of those things, and that probably turned me into such a Mario fan back in the day. It's a classic Mario game in its setup, with considerable steps into a wider, more advanced world. I mean, that's the word in the title that sells the importance of this game, Super Mario World. It indicates that things have taken a considerable step up from Super Mario Bros. And it doesn't hurt that all of the new mechanics introduced in this game are awesome, and became an integral part of the series pretty much immediately. I already talked about Yoshi a bit, but it can't be overstated how much I have always loved him and always will. I especially love how he gets different abilities depending on which shell he's got in his mouth, or the late introduction of multicolored Yoshis, who have a set ability no matter what shell they've got. Now, Yoshi's already an incredibly good boy, but when he's flying around or shooting fireballs, those levels of goodness are just off the charts as they've always been. It's just so good. And I still feel similarly about the game's big power-up, the cape feather. Flying around with that cape blew my mind as a kid, especially as I got better and better at controlling it. I always love it when I can find fun ways to just completely skip stuff, so soaring over levels with precision cape maneuvers is still when I feel most like the unstoppable Mario god that I aspire to be. Which isn't to say that I don't feel just the slightest bit guilty about skipping over some of the levels, because they're all incredibly solid to this day. I still love how much the game encourages completion by marking levels on the overworld with a red dot to indicate to you that that level has a secret exit. Of course, by this point, I know exactly where everything is, but I still remember that feeling of discovery from when I played as a kid. Flying around with the cape and finding secret exits just made me feel cool. And while Mario is many things, that feeling of coolness is more pronounced here than it is in the other games. I mean, it's set in a land full of dinosaurs, which every child knows is the coolest thing ever, and still is. And it only gets more and more hype as you unlock more worlds, like Star World and Special World. And while some of the levels in Special World kind of feel like the ones that didn't make the cut for the main game, that sort of adds to the specialness of it all. I've always loved when Mario games drop new and more difficult worlds on the player at the very end. And it feels especially cool here because of how they all interact with the game's larger overworld. And making everything even more awesome is the music by, of course, industry legend Koji Kondo, which might even be his best work in the entire series. It's iconic while also being kind of weird, and the way that the music amps up when you're riding Yoshi still gets me hype as hell. Even the sound design is incredibly satisfying, with really crunchy effects that pop off the screen, like the sound it makes when you insert a key into that hole. That shit rules, my dudes. This game has been a presence in my life for basically forever, and if you played the SNES growing up, that's almost certainly true for you too. But between the vast amount of times I've played through Super Mario World and all the various ways it's been remixed, from Kaizo to Mario Maker to crowd control on Twitch, I'm as convinced as I've ever been that this is Mario at his most iconic. Yes, it does take place in Dinosaur Land instead of the Mushroom Kingdom, and there are a bunch of new weird mechanics and enemies, but that weirdness is more Mario than anything else. Each time he takes a step onto a new console, he somehow holds onto his innate Mario-ness while still trying all kinds of weird shit. And this was the first time he really showed off his ability to step gracefully into a new generation of consoles. Even this game's direct sequel, Yoshi's Island, basically says to hell with it and does its own thing, building a game entirely around Yoshi, since everyone immediately knew how great he was after he popped up in this game. I also have to give props to all of the colored blocks that you find throughout the game. They're not really like puzzles per se, but it was always fascinating to me as a kid to discover these block outlines and not know what they were for, until moments later you discover a switch palace that would then unlock all of these blocks in the rest of the game. It was always fun. It made me try and search every nook and cranny to find every single switch palace. And the fact that some of the blocks actually gave you things like capes or mushrooms was just another cherry on top. Now, if it seems like I'm running out of words for how much I love this game, that's because I kind of am. To love this game is to love Mario himself, and I've been loving Mario for basically forever. But it was this game that truly unlocked that love of Mario, not just for me, but for an entire generation. So if it's been a while since you've actually sat down to play Super Mario World, I highly recommend you do so. All of Super Mario World and its remixed and reshuffled forms are great, but there's something to be said for putting aside a couple of hours to immerse yourself in the warm memory of playing this game, and remembering when you admitted to yourself for the first of many times that Mario is just the absolute best and always will be. And sure, Luigi's fine too, I guess. I don't want to hurt his feelings. He gets pretty sensitive, you guys. I mentioned before that Super Mario World encourages completion, and while it's not as heavily built around collecting and its associated rewards as the later Mario games are, it's still got a couple of really cool and weird ones up its sleeves. It was more than I expected from a game like this at the time, and I still really appreciate it. There's Star World and Special World, which are a part of the completion criteria, but the weird bonus level vibe of Special World makes it feel like a fun reward in itself, with the inclusion of stuff like the opening video as a playable level, which is really neat. And while finding all of the game's exits does earn you something, it's just a little gold star on the menu. Yes, fine, not amazing, but I'll take it. It's at least something, but it pales in comparison to the reward for completing all of Special World, which changes the color scheme of the overworld and swaps the enemies with these little creepy Mario-looking weirdos. Look, I appreciate how bonkers this is. I was weirded out by these guys when I was a kid. I was weirded out when I first completed the game for the channel, and I'm still weirded out even now. I don't even know if this is commentary on how Mario's his own worst enemy or not, or a reflection of his brother's secret resentment towards him, but even if it doesn't mean anything, it's just kind of hilarious and strange, and that's good enough for me. I'm at a point in my life where I can beat this game really quickly, but it still feels meatier and more substantial than lots of other games like it, and I've gone back to it so many times and will continue to do so, because when I need a direct hit of 2D Mario straight into my veins, this is the place to get it. When I recompleted Super Mario World, there were 8 deaths, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I've gotten pretty good at Mario over these last few years. 96 level exits discovered, same as last time. Obviously, there wasn't much of an exploration and discovery aspect to this all when I played it as a kid, but now I really appreciate the red dots on the overworld that help you track your progress in that way of knowing what levels did and didn't have other exits. 9 worlds traversed, including Star World and Special World. Those bonus worlds still get me super hyped, but honestly, they're all really good. Although the Forest of Illusion might be one of the most iconic, because I really realized this time around how much those levels are seared into my brain. About 5.5 hours of total playtime. Though it was a lot more than that when I did crowd control more recently, or even years ago when I didn't know the game quite as intuitively as I do now. I still like that it's a bite-sized experience, but it's a dense one for sure. And 57, which is the number of times I've said the word Mario so far in this episode. Mario, 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 Luigi. Sorry, I don't know how that Luigi got in there. I must have left him in. Sorry about that. That was a mistake. That was a mistake, Luigi. I'm sorry. What more is there to say about Super Mario World? It's freaking Super Mario World. It's been beaten to death online about how wonderful of a game it is. If you have a Nintendo Switch and you have Switch Online, guess what? You can play it. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite Mario games of all time, despite the fact that I don't like the sprite. Everything else in the game I love. It's fun to complete. It's fun to teach people about games with this game. It is one of the best platformers of all time. With that said, I still give this game my completionist rating of complete it. Are you surprised? I'm not.
Complete it!